Hi, my name is Karina Akidal. I'm the managing editor of Canadian Auto Dealer, and I'm here with Trevor Tamke of MNP. Trevor, today I'm looking to discuss a little bit about the federal government's rental subsidy program. So I do want to know why it's important to dealers, what opportunities there are for them, but maybe you can start by just describing the program in a nutshell for us.
Sure, thanks, Karina. So the Canada Emergency Rent Subsidy, or the CERS as I'll refer to it, is the sort of the revamped version of the rent subsidy program that originally existed, and this one's a lot better for businesses in that it's up to the individual business to apply for the program. You don't have to rely on your landlord applying for the program for you. In a nutshell, it's going to provide some support if you've experienced a reduction in revenue in your business. It can provide some support in terms of eligible expenses, and the eligible expenses could be if you actually rent your property from a third party, or if you actually own your business, and we can get into how that'll work in the interview here. So.
Perfect. So then let's dive into why should dealers care about this program?
Right. So again, if they've experienced a decline in revenues, and I can define what that is in a minute here. But if they experienced a decline, if they have a significant amount of rental expense, so if they don't own their own building and they're renting from a third party, typically you would see a significant amount of rent being paid. And so if you've experienced revenue decline, that's some decent dollars that'll be available to you under this program. On the flip side, if you own your building, the subsidy can cover mortgage interest, property taxes, and insurance. And so again, in most cases, those are some significant expenses for the dealer. And so this subsidy can provide some nice support for those expenses.
So then let's break it apart into provinces, because I imagine that this program will impact provinces very differently. For example, if we were to compare the situation in Quebec, where currently we're under lockdown, and there's a curfew, and dealerships, sales departments at least, have been closed. Service departments are open for essential services, but in Ontario, I understand the situation is different. So how would that work for those provinces?
Right. So it really depends on the measures that have been taken in each of the jurisdictions. So the part of this program that would apply is the top-up portion of the subsidy. So there's an additional amount that's available if you're subject to a public health restriction. Now, the way the government defines a public health restriction is essentially your business needs to be shut down, like you can't be operating, and it has to be, you may have different components of your business, like sales and service. And so if say you're still able to run the service department, but your sales are shut down, depending on the level of revenue that's generated in the portion of your business that's shut down, you could be eligible for additional amounts under the top-up portion of the subsidy. So yeah, again, it depends on the rules that have been put in place in the jurisdiction that you're in.
All right. Well, in that case, my last question for you will be, are there any other bits of information you want to share with us, or any advice you can offer to dealers across Canada?
Sure. Yeah. And there's actually a lot. I mean, I talked about it at a very high level, and maybe just to provide a little bit more detail on how the program works. So I mentioned you have to have experienced a revenue decline. We've talked in the past about the CEWS program, the wage subsidy program, and the calculation of your revenues is actually done under the exact same method as the CEWS program. So whatever method you choose to calculate your revenue decline, you have to use the same for both programs. So that being said, with the rent subsidy, often the complications come in with looking at the corporate structure and who's going to make the claim and who's eligible to make the claim. For dealerships, often we'll see common structure, much like many other businesses have, is they would hold their real estate in a holding company and rent to the operating entity. And so in that case, it's the company that owns the building would be the one that would apply for the SURS. And depending on the structure, there's different methods of calculating your revenue decline. So there's a method where you can choose to consolidate the revenue calculation between the holding company and the operating entities, and so on and so forth. So it really depends on the specific client's structure, and so that's something that really needs to be looked closely at. Another complicated factor is when you do own your building. I mentioned earlier, one of the eligible expenses that the subsidy applies to is mortgage interest, and there are some restrictions on how much mortgage interest can be claimed. And so if you've ever refinanced your mortgage, so let's say you had original mortgage, paid it down, and then at some point refinanced it, you may be limited in how much mortgage interest you can claim under the SURS. And so I've been involved with many dealership clients that have refinanced their debt over time, and it becomes a bit of an exercise to go back and get the appropriate information to make the claim.
Thanks, Trevor, for taking the time to do this interview. And as always, I wish you and your family good health and safety during this period.
You as well, Karina. Thank you very much.